start our evening together. So again, welcome. Tonight is the information session for the UC Davis Executive Leadership Program. My name is Kirsten Mijos, and I am the Chair for Business Health and Leadership at UC Davis Continuing and Professional Education. I'm joined this evening by Bridget Alvarez, who supports the Executive Leadership Program. We will also likely be joined later this evening if we hope by our enrollment coach, Christy Craig, if she's able to make it. I know she had some competing priorities. And Cleve Justice, who Dr. Justice will join us later in the evening as well to talk a little bit more specifically about the program. I want to begin actually, as we start talking this evening, with a little poll just to get to know who's joining us this evening. So if you could go ahead and let us know, I'm going to get it started, where you're logging in from this afternoon. And I do know that if you're on an iPad, it can be a little tricky to see the polls. You may have to maximize your screen, but we've got most folks responding. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. To share out the results, it looks like this is a West Coast crowd this afternoon, which is great. Good to know. And small majority coming from the greater Sacramento area. The reason I always like to start with that question is because this is a program that I think fits a lot of different needs. And one of them is really the need not to necessarily drive into Davis or Sacramento every evening. So I'm going to start by actually talking broadly about the Executive Leadership Program. And then what's very exciting to me and lucky to me is we're going to be joined by a program alum this evening. So I'll introduce her in a moment. And she'll talk a little bit about her experience in the Executive Leadership Program, because I think it's always nice to hear from someone who's done it. So I'm going to begin by just laying out the four pillars that really frame the Executive Leadership Program. This program has been around for over 20 years, but over the last year, we have completely reshaped it, still leaning on the basic tenets of wanting to create the best executive leaders we can, but really for 2021 and meeting the needs that you're facing right now as leaders. So we've always had this very top-notch leadership curriculum that will always be a pillar. We've always offered you 360-degree confidential feedback on your leadership style, which means a survey that you will administer at your place of work, and we will share results back with you. And we've always offered executive coaching and leadership. So part of this program actually includes one-to-one coaching with an executive coach. The brand new and newest pillar in the Executive Leadership Program is what's called an organizational transformation plan. And that's basically this one project that will put these other three pieces of learning into context and let you really walk away with a plan that uses what you've learned in the program to put it all together. The curriculum I mentioned earlier and the changes related to it, I'm going to go through. As you can imagine, a lot of these topics in leadership don't necessarily change very frequently. We know we always want to work on values in leadership and being an adaptive leader and leading through momentum and strategy and innovation. But some of the newer components that we added for our 2021 cohort is that you're also really needing to practice a lot of mindful leadership these days. What we know is that the stress levels have only increased, that working under pandemic conditions and often in remote environments has made it much more difficult to impact and lead change in your organization. So we really felt like one of the basic tenets to our curriculum should include mindful leadership. So we've invited, and I'll talk a little bit more about our instructors, but we've invited a published author on mindful leadership who does consulting for Fortune 50 companies, on how to really become a more mindful leader. What are the tools that you can utilize? We also added a course or a session on remote leadership because we know a lot of you are being asked to lead and have often never even worked in the same office with some of the folks that you've hired. So we really wanted to give you some tools and some ability to know more about that. The person that the instructor for that session actually leads the global delivery organization at Gap Inc. So we've got some wonderful subject matter experts in the cohort. So this is just a quick view of our curriculum. And these are some of the folks you'll be learning from. This is obviously just a small sample, but as I mentioned, Laurie Cameron, who will teach mindful leadership, has been doing this quite some time and is a published author. But the other thing we really want to stress is that you're going to be in a small group environment with these incredible leaders and have an opportunity to really interact in meaningful ways with them. So the sessions are set up to really give you time to learn from these case studies and learn from these leaders, and then do really active learning around whatever concepts they're sharing. So this is just a sampling of some of the folks you'll be hearing from. As I mentioned, you will be offered executive coaching, which is a strengths-based coaching, meaning that we are going to focus on what you want to get better at, and it will be using feedback from the folks who work around you every day. So people who report to you and those that you report to. This does include 2 one-hour coaching sessions that's included in the price of tuition. So we believe that this is the best way to take this 360 information and really turn it into activation. As I go to the next slide, I just want to pause for a moment and let you know that this really can be a very interactive session tonight. If you have questions, I would highly encourage you to put them into the chat and we'll address them. I'm working to keep us in a timely place and move quickly tonight because I really value your time, but I want to make sure that we're around for a lot of questions. So we'll reserve time at the end, but if you'd like to put your questions into the chat now, I'm more than happy to start receiving them. And finally, just a little bit about the program structure. So as you can see, we've designed this program to be completely online. It does span over 12 weeks, and it's one afternoon on a Thursday afternoon and then a Friday morning every other week. And what we found is that that works really best for working professionals to be able to finish out as much as they can of the workday on Thursday and then really stay focused from Thursday at 2 p.m. all the way through the next Friday at 1 p.m. So, and we've kept really tight to those timeframes. This isn't a program that's going to start late and run late. That's not how we do things. And then what we know is that there's great learning that takes place in these off weeks. And so we've set up these smaller cohorts. So you may be in a large cohort of 30 students, but we've broken you into groups of 5 or 6 individuals based on a lot of your career interests or what you're hoping to learn. And that off week will be spent delving deeper into the content. We anticipate your time commitment to be around 7 hours of content per week, but this is a non-academic, non-graded program. So you will get out what you put in. Additionally, we know that occasionally balancing all those things as a busy leader, it may not be possible for you to attend every session. So we will be making available to you recorded sessions if you're unable to make a session, obviously working with the instructor in advance. So that's the overall structure. What I'd love to do now is kind of talk through with our guest today, Ann Carroll, how it was to be part of this cohort. So Ann, are you on the, I see you on the line. Are you available to talk?
I am here.
Wonderful, welcome. I'm glad I got your photo up on the slide so everybody can see you.
Yeah,
so,
I can turn on my video if you'd like.
Up to you.
Okay.
We'd love to see you, I'm sure. So we have some questions prepared for you that we'd love to ask about the experience so that you can really tell folks what it was like for you to participate in this cohort, because it's probably a little bit of a leap to do something, particularly when we've just reframed it and changed the structure a little. But before we go into that, could you tell folks a little bit about yourself, just a brief description of what you do?
Sure. I'm the Deputy Chief Counsel at the Department of Water Resources for the state of California. I am the number 2 attorney in the office, and this is my first experience at an executive level position. So I do a lot of legal work. I also do a lot of the human resources and making sure that we have everything to meet our operational needs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to make sure that this is that we are recording the way we ought to, and your screens are coming across the way we are. So I'm going to do a quick check. Bridget, are we looking okay? Are we recording okay?
Everything is fine.
Good. Thank you.
No questions
That's my
through.
favorite.
Yeah, you guys look great. So everything's good.
All right. All right, great. So I'm going to pull up some more questions. Thank you so much. Okay, so and then the next question I'd love to hear from you and your response to is, what attracted you to the executive leadership program? What were some of the reasons that you considered taking advantage of it?
Well, I actually have a former supervisor who has been talking to me about this program for probably the last 15 years. And he has, from the very beginning of my career as an attorney, I mean, I wasn't looking into management, I wasn't looking into any of this. And he said, there's this program at UC Davis that you really need to take sometime in your career. And you need to take it regardless of whether you're going to become a manager or not, just so that you have this background and this ability to work with people and build teams. So I've been pushed and recommended to do this program for a long time. And then I finally had the opportunity to take the program with my position here at DWR. And I really needed the tools in my toolbox to start this executive position. So it was perfect timing for everything.
Oh, that's a great story. I didn't realize that you had been waiting so long. And that is the nice thing about being affiliated with a program that has that reputation and that time. So I know that it may have been a little bit interesting to try to sign up for a program that was entirely online. Can you tell me what concerns you might have had and how it was to be part of an online cohort?
Well, at first I was concerned because I know how interactive the program was supposed to be. You know, we were broken into teams. You're supposed to do a lot of teamwork and, you know, coming up with plans together. So I was really curious as to how that would work, because like one of the exercises is a physical exercise where you're doing things. And I didn't know how that would work with a computer or through Zoom. And it was actually pretty seamless. I really found the Zoom platform to be helpful. You know, you have the opportunity to turn the video off if you need to go and run and do something. I don't know if any of you are like me. I have 2 small kids in the house. So going to an executive training at this time would not have worked with my schedule, but this really allowed me the time and the space and the method to take a course like this at this time. So
Wonderful. Thank you for that feedback. That's helpful to get a sense of. What would you say to a leader who's considering this program and is kind of weighing out the costs and benefits?
I would say do it. It's a lot of time. It is an investment. You really get a lot out of this. I mean, I got a lot out of this. I didn't realize, I mean, I've taken leadership courses in the past to, you know, develop different strategies, to learn about the different theories and things like that. But this was the first time where I felt like I got a practical application of it. And I got to speak to other people who are becoming managers, who've been managers for a long time, who've taken similar courses to this and had experience, and making those connections and having that feedback and that sounding board is something I haven't found before. So making the time is really important for this course.
So you found it was easier to balance the time when it was through a Zoom platform. Were there specific components of the program as you think about the cohort model, the executive coaching, the 360 feedback, the organizational transformation plan? Can you pull out maybe 1 or 2 program elements that you found to be particularly valuable in your leadership journey?
Sure. For me personally, I found the 360 and the executive coaching to be extremely valuable. With the 360, it's an opportunity to ask people for candid feedback with anonymity, right? So you actually get to hear how people perceive you, and it makes you realize how self-aware that you are, or how the perception of you may be completely different of what you think it is. And for me in the 360, like things I thought I was really strong at, you know, encouraging people and talking about our mission, that's actually where I scored the lowest. So it was really informative to see where I needed to put in the work, and then taking that to the coach to say, okay, well, how do I do this? I thought I was doing the right thing. What can I do differently? And having somebody with that experience help me come up with different strategies was very beneficial.
I can imagine. I don't think you're alone in that. I have had a similar experience with my 360. It's often, it uncovers things that you didn't see or know about yourself. And so coaching is generally about someone listening to you and reframing your own intentions and helping you build some action around it. Do you feel like that was your experience of the coach you worked with at UC Davis?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she helped focus me. Like, I knew where I wanted to go and I knew what I wanted to do. But she helped me focus in on really what I needed to prioritize, and then gave me another perspective on it. Somebody who has been doing the management for a long time, who's been working at this executive level, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was still thinking from my prior experience of being a manager, but not being an executive.
That's a really important point that you've made, is that as a leader, you often are still using the tools and techniques that made you successful at this level. And at every point where you graduate to the next level, we have to upskill and change everything. It's almost like parenting a different age or something. You have to really change your entire approach to the work. And it lends itself well to some of the questions we've gotten through the chat and the Q&A, which are really about the intended audience for the executive leadership program. And it really is for like a director level of leadership is the intended audience. And we would definitely believe that at a minimum, we absolutely need to have folks who are managing others. And can you talk about why it's a good program if you're someone who's leading others?
I think it's really about perspective. I mean, for me, it was about perspective. You got a better indication of the different types of team members that you would have, and how their different needs or their different goals really affect how you have to manage your team, and how you have to roll things out, how you deal with change, how you deal with, creating different smaller groups to achieve different goals. So I think that's what's really important.
Thank you. That's great feedback. What else do you think would be important for folks to hear from you tonight? What would you like to share? Because I have a lot more questions, but I would love to know, kind of, as you've had time to reflect on the program. It's been, gosh, almost a whopping 3 weeks since we just graduated the program. How have things been different back at work?
The program I went through, we actually had a focus on being remote working, and that's something that's going to continue for me. So it was nice to kind of have a primer on where I need to take my office going forward. And it's also helped me realize, at least through the 360, the different managers that I work with, what I need to give to them. And it also, because I had coworkers attend the leadership program with me, I've built those connections, and we've actually been talking since then to see, how we can improve things between our different departments, our different offices. So it's good. It's still continuing. Everything I got from the program, I'm still using it, and I can see how I'm going to continue to use it in the future.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful feedback. I'm so grateful for you for joining us tonight. Would love for you to hang and stay and answer questions if you're able.
Sure.
And then you can, thank you. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to go through our slides and share where our next steps are in that. Let's go ahead and let me go straight to program logistics next. Let's see. Can I get a quick check from you, Bridget? Are you looking at the logistics slide? Did everything move the way it ought to have?
Yes, it all looks good.
Oh, that's amazing when that happens. Thank you. So here's the logistics if you're interested in enrolling. The tuition is $5,500, and that includes quite a bit. So that's 12 weeks of learning. Again, these top-notch leaders coming in from all over the country. And I guess that's one thing I didn't stress enough, is that because you have the flexibility of Zoom, we're no longer asking people to drive out to Davis on an evening. So the ability to attract and retain incredible talent from all over the country and in fact the world to come in and be part of this program has really increased. So you'll have access to some really high level leaders, but also homegrown leaders who come from UC Davis, which is a nice addition. That also includes all your materials. So you'll be offered 2 textbooks. One is the Leadership Challenge. We'll get you the newest version if you've already got it on your bookshelf. And another is a book that accompanies one of the instructors as well. And that's around mindful leadership. So those 2 textbooks will be included with your tuition. The 360 assessment is actually part of your tuition as well, meaning that if you give us your email information, you'll get a link that you would share with up to 15 different individuals who will give you that feedback. We will collect that feedback for you, report it back to you in a way that's really usable. And then the one-to-one coaching will also be part of that. So you'll have access to a coach, again, 2 one-hour sessions from highly skilled executive coaches who can help you take in that 360 feedback in the first half of the program. And in the second half of the program, what the coaches often do is help you work on your organizational transformation plan or how you want to put to use the learning that you've acquired thus far. So the first session for this next cohort actually begins on September 9th. So that is not too far away, but it's a great time to start planning, talking to your own leadership about the opportunities. We have, if you will, if you're interested in enrolling early, we have a lot of early enrollment discounts that you can take advantage of. So I highly recommend enrolling early to save a little bit of money. The priority enrollment date is August 28th, meaning we'd like for you to be signed up and enrolled so that we can make sure you receive your textbooks on time, make sure your 360 evaluations are set up and all that good stuff. And we can really welcome you in with a good deal of organization behind you. So we would like to have everyone enrolled by August 28th. And again, there are significant incentives to being able to do that on time. And I will direct you to the website and to Christy Craig for more on that. So those are the basic logistics. I want to pause for a moment because we've got a lot of information out there and ask if there are any additional questions. I know we addressed, there was a question in the Q&A in chat that actually had a lot of overlap. So hopefully we addressed it as both. Again, to reinforce, it really is for people who lead other people. That's generally going to be the criterion. We really are hoping to have you at an executive level, which tends to be a director level. So if you're moving into that role, that's also an appropriate time to take this training. Or if you've been in the role for a bit and really want to kick the tires on your leadership journey, I think it's a great program to do so. So I'll continue to the next slide, but want to remind you that the chat and the Q&A is open. The next slide is sort of how do you get started? Who do you need to speak with? So our director of our program is Dr. Cleveland Justice. Unfortunately, I don't believe he's able to join us this evening, but he is available to talk to you if you really want to understand more about the curriculum, the goals of the program, some of the underpinnings and some of the rationale behind why certain topics were chosen and maybe your own goals and whether there's a fit there. That's a great conversation to have with Dr. Justice. So his email is here. If you're ready to enroll and are curious about things like discounts, group discounts, or maybe you're just kind of on the fence and need a little bit more information, please reach out to Christy Craig. She's our enrollment coach and she can provide you with that information. And she can also really support you if you're looking to get funding from an employer, for example. She's pretty masterful in navigating those situations. And finally, if you have logistic questions that are really about, you know, dates and times and things like that, please reach out to Bridget, who you've met tonight. She will be managing those logistic details for us. So those are kind of our team, our contact team. Again, this is a program where we really believe in maximizing time. So I certainly don't want to keep anyone longer than they wish to be kept. So I will hang tight if there are more questions, probably for a couple more minutes for Anne or myself. We'd love to answer them. And then what we'll probably do is wait about until just a few minutes after 5, and then we'll sign off if there aren't any additional questions. So would really invite you to use the chat now. If you have any sort of lingering questions, if you do not, highly recommend you open up an email window and shoot an email to any of these 3 individuals who may be able to answer more questions if you're still kind of on the fence. And certainly if you're ready to enroll, you'll get a link immediately following this info session, but you can also go to, if you just type in your Google search, CPE UC Davis, pull up the Executive Leadership Program that way, and you can enroll this evening.
There is a question, Kirsten, in our Q&A.
The program,
Yeah, go ahead.
I see it now. Thank you. So it's asking about when the program would end, correct? I have a timeline, but I may need to switch screens to do it. So let me go ahead and stop sharing. And then I'll put myself in the spotlight so y'all can see me sort of searching for that document, and then I'll pull it right up so you have it. Let me get the time. So our first session starts on September 9th, and it actually, no, so it doesn't run into February. We'll actually be completed with the sessions by the 3rd of December. So to give a quick review, that means we'll be meeting on the 9th and 10th of September. Then 2 weeks later, the 23rd and 24th of September. Then 2 weeks after that, the 7th and 8th of October, and so on and so on. Then we do a pretty significant break. We have our last session on the 5th of November, and we allow you to kind of get through that holiday a little bit, and then we're going to close up the cohort on the 2nd and 3rd of December, Thursday and Friday. So your last day in class would be Friday, December 3rd. A great question, and I'm glad you asked it. How often is the course provided? So the courses, the cohorts tend to run twice a year. We are playing around a little bit about whether next year we would try to offer a hybrid if the stars aligned and we're able to get together in person, but we really feel like there's such value in offering a Zoom only program right now, because we're getting talent from around the country as well, with our guest speakers, but also with our students. So this cohort will be completely online, as was the previous, and we generally have them twice a year. It's a great question. Bridget, I'm not seeing any more questions. Are you?
No, that was the last question in the Q&A box.
All right.
Oh wait, I do see one pop up.
That's great. That is the way this works. So, you know, I almost feel like I kind of want to throw this one to you, Anne. So the question is this, they're asking about the time commitment required during the quote unquote off weeks. So there's a 1 to 2 hour small group meeting. How many hours for assignments and study? I know, you know, sort of what we plan, but you really know what it's like to live it. About how much was your time commitment? And it's okay to be super honest.
Yeah, no, everyone is really busy who takes this course. So I think on our small group, not everybody could always make the small group meetings. And we were really flexible about that. You know, we never held it against anyone if they couldn't make it. And I think we met every time, but it was about a half an hour to an hour. And we all worked in advance to make sure that it was at a time that people could mostly attend. When we started working on our organizational transformation plans, I think it really depended on how much you wanted to put into your presentation, your familiarity with PowerPoint, you know, whether you had a good idea of what you wanted to be working on. I had a plan already kind of formed and in place, so I probably got to put in a little bit less time than some others. But I think I probably put in about 4 hours total working on it, from, you know, just sketching it out during a lunch period to talking with my cohort, and then actually really sitting down and putting the PowerPoint together.
All right, so that may be our last question. I think I'll hang out for a couple more seconds here. I think we're probably wrapped up. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and thank Anne again so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to see you again. We missed you. I want to thank all of you, all of the attendees who took time out of your busy schedule. We know that leaders are working overtime right now. So thank you for taking the time to come and learn about this opportunity. And we do really hope to hear from you. So please, if you have questions or need to follow up, highly recommend using those email contacts we shared, or simply going online, and there's all of those contacts are shared on the website too. So would encourage you to use all of that and those resources. Bridget, is there anything you'd like to say to close tonight? Any words of wisdom for folks?
Words of wisdom, let me see. This is a wonderful program. Years of managing this program, so many success or successful stories, that many of the alum have provided for us. And it's just great to see the transformation from the very beginning when, actually when we have these in-person classes, just seeing the transformation and the things that they're able to take away. And like Anne, you mentioned having those tools and, in your tool belt in a sense, so it's great to see that. And again, during these 12 weeks, you're able to take things back with you to work. Each and every class that you do attend, you're able to take that back and utilize all those tools. So
Wonderful.
Enroll, great program, and hope to
Excellent.
see you all. Yeah.
And I'm going to put those contact details back up. We've got a Q&A requesting those contact information. So these are the folks that can really help you with that decision. So again, just to reflect, the director is Dr. Justice, who just texted and let me know that he is available and happy to speak to folks. You can shoot him an email this evening, in fact, if you don't want to wait. Then our enrollment coach is Christy Craig. She's a wonderful resource. Again, Christy's very good for helping you with either those sort of navigating it with your employer and figuring out that piece, but also if you're just kind of on the fence and want to weigh out what options are also available at CPE, she's a great specialist in all our leadership programs. So she may know if you're not maybe supervising people yet and you just want to develop some skills, she's your person and can help get you into those right opportunities. So she can filter you to those right places. And then finally, Bridget's your person if you want to work on those details, those last minute, when does the program start and stop and all that good stuff. She can help you get started there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just thank you again all so much for joining us this evening. I hope you have a great evening. Again, Anne, I can't thank you enough. Great to see you. Good night.